What's up guys, Blade Master here, bringing you yet another Total War Rome 2 online battle replay. I'm fighting up against Philopator here. He's a really good guy and great player, and he's actually a YouTuber as well. And I've put his link in the description. He's got some great videos that you guys should check out and definitely help support. So in this matchup, I have taken Parthia and he has taken Macedon as a counter pick. Very surprising counter pick, and I'm not really sure if it's the most efficient one. But without further ado, let's go over the builds. With Parthia, and we're fighting in Macedon, by the way. If you guys don't know what Macedon is, what are you doing with your life? Literally every second battle is fought in Macedon. It's this flat track map with nothing really, no features really. There's no hills, no trees, whatever. Just a completely flat track map, which will obviously favor the Parthians with their strong cataphracts. So let's take a look at my build. I've brought 3 horse skirmishers, and I've also brought a total of 4 Parthian foot archers with 2 eastern slingers, 1 eastern slinger on either flank. I've also brought a spear line of 3 eastern spearmen and 1 Persian hoplite. Finally, I brought a heavy cataphract line of 4 eastern cataphracts, 1 royal cataphract general, and finally I've brought 1 Indian war elephant unit as well. Taking a look at Philopator's build, he has brought 3 levy pikes up in front, and he's brought a line of 3 mercenary Cretan archers behind them. He's also brought a total of 4 thorax swords, 2 on either side, and a total of 4 Thorea spears, 2 on either side, behind his thorax swords. Finally, his cavalry is comprised of 2 Thessalian cav and 2 Sarissa cav, 1 on either flank, and he's got also a shield bearers unit. Now, the game will be mainly decided by my eastern cataphracts and my royal cataphracts. They are going to be the main killing force behind my army. Also, these Indian war elephants can be a major decider in this battle. They can either wreck my own army, or they can cause massive casualties in his army. They could also just, die without causing many casualties in either side, but that's just as bad as if they went and destroyed my own army, because I'm putting a lot of money and a lot of faith into these Indian war elephants. My skirmish line outmatches Philopator's skirmish line. His 3 mercenary Cretan archers are elite tier units, and they can definitely perform very well. But at the end of the day, I have 6 skirmishers to his only 3 skirmishers. So in a skirmish on skirmish engagement, even though my units are cheaper and are less armored, I do have 2 slingers who can definitely help destroy these Cretan archers pretty quickly. And I do have 4 Parthian foot archers to his only 3 Cretan archers. His levy pikes are a pretty strange choice, and I do not think they will really affect this match. But another unit that could potentially affect this match are these Thorea spears, because those javelins will be quite deadly to my eastern cataphracts. Of course, their javelins have the bonus versus cavalry, and when I charge in with my cataphracts and then try to pull away, if his Thorea spears can get some uninterrupted volleys, that will be devastating to either my elephant or my cataphracts, and that will spell doom for my army. He's also brought these 2 Sarissa cav, which is an interesting choice. Now, these units will get, annihilated, obliterated, eliminated, all kinds of aided if I get a charge with my cataphracts onto them. But since these units are so incredibly quick, you guys have to you have no idea how quick these units are. It's going to be tough for my cataphracts to even catch them. So if he can move around with them and get into my archers and my skirmish line, they could actually pay off, because these eastern slingers and these Parthian foot archers themselves are very vulnerable to melee. They have hardly any armor, hardly any melee defense, and against a charge from any sort of cavalry, especially a shock cav, which actually has a pretty decent charge, they will fall down, without causing any casualties at all. His shield bearer unit is clearly a counter match to my eastern cataphracts. He knew I was going to bring a lot of cataphracts with Parthia, and so he's brought a very, very tanky unit. And these guys could actually potentially be a very big force in this game. Also, if he uses his thorax swords and rushes in, and I don't kite back effectively enough with my eastern spearmen and my Parthian hoplites, the game is done. So, saying all that, let's go and get into the action. So the reason why I brought these 3 horse skirmishers and not mercenary Scythian archers, and I might have talked about this earlier, but I thought that these guys were only 360 talents. They're actually 390, so they are more expensive than the cheapest horse archers there are. But the reason why I'm increasingly liking to take these units is because they are just so deadly. If you can get 3 or 4 javelin volleys with these guys onto a high value target, that target is going to drop down so quickly. That 41 missile damage javelin volleys are just so deadly for even the most highly armored unit. And what I usually do with horse archers and with skirmish cav in general is I try to move behind the enemy lines and then try and get some rear shots onto high value targets. So if I'm going to do the same strategy with either horse archers or javelin cavalry, might as well do it with jav cav who have 41 missile damage, so that they can cause as many casualties in as short a time as possible. That is my reasoning. But that said, they have very little ammo compared to horse archers who have 10 ammo. These guys only have 7. That's a total of 3 less volleys, which is actually quite a big amount. But coming back to the action, I got half a volley off with one of my horse archers, but more importantly, I induced his mercenary Cretan archers to fire an archer volley on to these fleeing horse skirmishers, so they didn't take any casualties, and I wasted a little bit of my ammo. Just the little things in life that make it that make it sweeter. I love doing that. It irritates your opponent. It wastes his ammo. And at the end of the day, you're trading a little bit of fatigue on your highly fatigue-resistant units for something that's going to damage your opponent a lot more. If you can get a sweet javelin volley off as well, then that's even better. Now he's going to chase off my units with his Sarissa cavalry. That's actually a smart move, I would say, because these are not horse archers again, so every javelin volley counts. So if he's going to make me waste my javelin ammo on some really cheap and quite honestly pretty shitty units, then that's good for him. But he's moving up very aggressively with his levy pikes, his 3 levy pikes, and I'm going to just shower them with slinger fire and with arrow fire. I'm going to move back with 4 of my Parthian foot archers behind my second line, and I'm going to keep my 2 eastern slingers here, but they're about to get caught by a very ballsy charge by his Thessalian cavalry. Now he's going to charge in, and he's going to basically sacrifice that because I've counter-charged with my eastern cataphracts. He's also moved away with 2 of his Sarissa cabs, so you can see they're really quick. They've actually moved behind my lines super quickly. I've also got a frontal charge with my eastern cataphracts onto the front of his thorax swordsman, and that's the same thing that I'm going to do here. But what's more important, that even if I don't get many kills with my eastern cataphracts, what that means is I've tied down his Thureos spears. And speaking of tying down units, I've tied down his archers by charging in with my horse skirmishers here, and that's going to give me enough time to move my Indian war elephants and attack this really vulnerable blob here. They're going to destroy this thorax swordsman, which is held off by my eastern cataphracts. Meanwhile, his Sarissa cab have actually gotten a charge onto my skirmish line, and I believe that's no, he didn't get a good charge off with his Sarissa cab there. I managed to kill them off with my royal cataphracts. Meanwhile, my horse skirmisher is dead, and he still has his archers. Now actually they're not dead, I moved away with them, they've only taken 20 casualties, but before they can get a couple of volleys in, I'm trying to shoot them in the flanks with my eastern slingers and Parthian foot archers, so they're going to take heavy casualties in the process. I'm also coming back for a second charge with my horse skirmishers to try and get at his Cretan archers, because they cannot get arrow fire onto my Indian war elephants. These war elephants are actually doing pretty well so far, 152 kills because I've used Stampede on them. I'm going to catch his Cretan archers again with my skirmishers, and that's going to be it for those Cretans. They're just not going to do too much in this battle now. Coming in for repeated charges with my eastern cataphracts, he's put his Thureos spears onto square, which will help them tank out that battle. I'm going to charge in into this little gap with my royal cataphract general onto his Thureos spears, and that's going to be pretty devastating for his Thureos spears because they don't have great mass, and they're going to take a ton of casualties this way. My horse skirmishers have actually been the MVP, the silent MVP of this match, because they've kept tying down his Cretan archers so that they couldn't get arrow fire onto my Indian war elephants. Meanwhile, these units have been racking up the kills with 173 kills, double experience chevron, and now that these eastern cataphracts have tied down these thorax swordsmen, these war elephants are going to get into their rear and just knock them over and completely destroy them. Now my horse skirmishers are going to come in again and just tie down his Cretan archers. My royal cataphract is being engaged by his shield bearers. Meanwhile, these Thureos spears are getting some javelin volleys onto them. They're actually dropping down by quite a few units. 46 men left. Meanwhile, his Sarissa cab have actually done pretty well, and they managed to tie down a lot of my units. 148 kills with Sarissa cab with a 400 talent, the shittiest shock cab in the game, barring like Sarmatian lances or whatever. But he's done really well. Philippe has done really well with those units. I'm going to charge into his Thureos spears with my royal cataphracts though, and now that my elephants just managed to get into his archer line here, and that's going to be so devastating for his units. They haven't lost a single elephant yet, and they've destroyed his Cretan archers, which were probably going to be the biggest threat to my elephants. I haven't really managed to kite very well enough, but the damage has been done. Like the kiting was only one. Like my skirmish wasn't going to be my skirmish line wasn't going to be the match winner here. The elephants were, and they've already gotten a ton of kills, but they are starting to run amok here. They've already lost 1 unit, so they're 16 out of 18 units left. They've got 280 kills with a triple experience chevron though, so they've done a brilliant job. My Eastern Cataphracts with Trample are going to charge into his Thorax Swordsman, so they're going to start dropping very quickly. At this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just focus fire on his Shield Bearers here, and I've got some Parthian Foot Archers here, some pretty depleted Parthian Foot Archers, but I've also got Eastern Slingers, and that extra ammo is actually going to play a huge part. His Shield Bearers have already got 52 kills on Cataphracts, so they've done really well, but now that they're going to get focus fired, even though they have 115 armor, it's just going to be a bit too much for them to handle. So 71, 70, 68, they're dropping really quickly because and he kept the rears to my slingers, so they were starting to drop very quickly. But now, yeah, his army is starting to waver. This is a very huge mass waver that I haven't really seen in the game. But I guess it's because I just had a ton of ammo left, and that's going to make his units rout and shatter. So it's a close victory to me. Well played to Philopator, but the only thing was he just, I think he needed to have tied down my horse skirmishers. I never really expected, or I guess maybe he never really expected these horse skirmishers to come in and charge into his Cretan archers. They were never really going to do much damage by doing that. You can see they've only got 32, 43 and 58 kills. But what that did was, while they charged in to those Cretan archers, all that meant was those Cretan archers could not fire any arrows onto my elephants. And take a look at the kills on my elephants. 280 kills, losing only 1 elephant at the end of the day, and a triple chevron. So they destroyed his Thorax Swordsman and some of his Thorea Spears as well. It's like Thorea Spears can be a very good counter to elephants, but don't expect them to hold them off in melee. Like, you need to let them get like 3 or 4 javelin volleys before they can take down these elephants. And if they can't, then they're basically worthless. So you can see these Thorea Spears only got 16, 33, 20 and 8 kills respectively. Meanwhile, my Cataphracts, like I expected, did a lot of damage. 193 kills on my general. My general also died, by the way, because of his, his incessant Thorea Spears flinging their javelins and his Shield Bearers doing their work. But my Eastern Cataphracts as well got repeated charges onto his Thorax Swords and Thorea Spears. And although these units are very heavily armored, good mass, decent mass as well, I think Thorea Spears only have are medium melee. So maybe they don't have the greatest mass. If they're either medium or heavy, I'm 99% sure they're medium, because I remember Agima Spears are medium infantry, so these units must be medium as well. So that means they don't have great mass, so that means they won't be able to withstand a shock charge like that very, very easily. I mean, these Cataphracts are some of the best units in the game in terms of their shock capabilities. My Parthian Foot Archers got pretty decent numbers of kills, 92, 72, 39, 38. Eastern Slingers as well didn't do too much, but I think these skirmishers did their job in helping killing off his mercenary Cretans while, for the few seconds that they were free from my horse skirmishers. Eastern Spearmen didn't do anything like I expected, and Persian Hoplites didn't do much either. Anyways, guys, that's the end of this battle. Hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for more. Peace.